On January 31st, I was invited to St. George to take part in the South Dumfries Historical Society New Year's Levee, which was a nice little event, and I came and brought greetings. And I also discovered that St. George Lions Club is building a splash pad up at St. George, and mentioned to them that we too are going to be building a splash pad here at Six Nations. So I've asked Councillor Carl Hill, who's taking the lead in our splash pad here, to maybe get in touch with them just to get more information and advice. Last week, on February 1st, I was in Toronto for 3 days, and I took part in a meeting with the Ontario Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, David Zimmer. We talked about a number of issues. We talked about jurisdiction on child welfare. We talked about consultation. I also brought up the fact that there was a notification that came out of Ontario which announced that there was going to be an Ontario task force on contraband tobacco. I explained to Mr. Zimmer that we were never consulted on this, that we did not appreciate it, and that we likened it to Bill C-10, and that the OPP better not think they were going to come into our community and raid, because we were quite concerned about some of the things that were listed in there, and said that we need to sit down and speak with Minister Souza and Minister Yazor Nafki, who's the Minister of Community Safety and Corrections, about this issue, because we don't want them targeting First Nations, and to us it's just all about taxation. So Minister Zimmer said that he too was unaware that this announcement was coming out, so we're going to continue to work with the Ontario government on that, because we don't want any of our people having to continue their business under the threat that they might get raided. I'll also be talking to the Chief of Police on this, but it's very similar to some of the information we received when we were talking about Bill C-10. I also went to Queen's Park and spoke to a number of students there who are all interns up there. They work with the different members of provincial parliament, and they're called the Ontario Legislature Internship Program students. So I had a good morning with them. And I also attended the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business Gala, which was held in Toronto last Tuesday. And Chief Darcy Bear, who is the chief of the Whitecap First Nation in Saskatchewan, was won the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I know Chief Bear, so I've invited him to come and visit our community. He's done a lot of work in his own community. They have a casino there, and they're working on a hotel. And they also have a PGA-sanctioned golf course, and they're a small community of only 700 people, so I'd like to sit down and have information exchanges with him. I'm also sitting on a round table with some other chiefs, and we're dealing with issues related to Hydro One, on outstanding historical grievances such as the transmission lines that are on our community or on our traditional territory, and also the number of concerns and issues that our people are having with their Hydro One bills. So we're going to be meeting with the Minister of Energy on this in a couple of weeks, and so we're coming together with other communities to try and get this fixed up, because we know the concerns people have with their Hydro One bills. I also attended last week the annual banquet of the Brantford Area Sports Council that was held in Brantford at the Brantford Golf and Country Club. And last Friday I was in Toronto to take part and attend the Royal Winnipeg Ballet that put on a story called Going Home Star, which is a story about residential schools, and it's part of their whole efforts to, I guess, implement some of the truth and reconciliation that has come out of as a result of that final report. And on Tuesday, February 8th, we're very pleased to take part in the historic announcement of the launch of the Bachelor of Arts in the Ungohongwe Languages program that is going to be taking place is taking place at Six Nations Polytech. So we're really excited about that, and it was a wonderful event, and it was attended by the Minister of Colleges and Universities, Rizel Moretti, and Minister Zimmer, and the Speaker. Also in February, this month coming up, is going to be AFN First Nations Forum on Energy, which we are scheduled to take part in. That'll be on February 10th and 11th. Upcoming events, Assumption College, I'll be going to speak to some students there on the 19th. There's the Good Roads Convention coming up on February 21st to 24th in Toronto. At the same time, the Chiefs of Ontario will be holding a health conference there, and the AFN will be holding an education conference in Ottawa. So we're going to have representatives at all of those events. And on February 27th, there will be a ceremony held at St. Paul's Church on Sour Springs Road, and it's going to be to install a new deacon. On the 29th of February, Minister Michael Couteau, who is the Minister of Culture, Tourism and Sports, is going to be visiting Six Nations, and I'll be touring him around to see our sports facilities and our tourism spots, and also sitting and having a debrief with him about our involvement in the Pan Am Games. And Council is planning a meet and greet in Ottawa with the new members of Parliament with the federal government, and we're taking a lot of people up to get that and introduce our community, and so that we can get off the bat and start working with them on a number of issues we have. The Little NHL is going to be coming up on March break, and as a lead into that, on March 12th there will be a banquet and inducting people into the Hall of Fame, and I'm happy to say that 2 people from Six Nations will be inducted into the Little NHL Hall of Fame, and that's Stan Jonathan and the late Mike Seek-Hill. So we're going to be there, and glad to see that those guys will be receiving the honor that they deserve. Last year I had attended the RES 2015, which is an economic development conference in Las Vegas. It's going to be held again this year, RES 2016. It's in Las Vegas from March 21st to 24th. And I'll be going along with some members from the Six Nations Development Corporation, and I have been working with the organizers of that event with a request to have Six Nations do a presentation, and they've accepted our request, and so we will be holding a special session during that conference to talk about some of the renewable energy projects that Six Nations is involved in, and to talk about our development corporation. So we're excited that they accepted that, and we're going to be doing that presenting, and hopefully it will lead to further opportunities and maybe future joint ventures and partnerships between Six Nations and some of the other tribes and First Nations that attend that. Six Nations Polytech will be holding a Six Nations language conference here on March 30th and 31st. And again, I want to mention that we are going to be the host First Nation for the Assembly of First Nations that will be held in Niagara Falls in July 12th, 13th, and 14th. And we're looking at doing an all-star Six Nations talent showcase again on July 13th. So we'll give more information as that comes up. And in August, the Great Law of Peace recital is going to be held in our territory. And just a reminder as well that in July 2017, the North American Indigenous Games will be held in Toronto and here at Six Nations. And I think the Indigenous Summer Games are being held in this area this summer, and there may be some events held in Brantford as well. And there's a whole slew of community events we have going, programs that are being run by health, social, recreation, and you can get a listing of all of those if you look on our website. So that was it for the month of February, and thank you very much, Nyawa, and we'll talk to you again in March. Nyawa.